Hi, Cooper Glover, 1972. I'm here with my weekly films I've watched just this week. Um, well, it turned out that this week I did manage to watch four movies, but um, I didn't start off the week watching any movies. I think I was doing some stuff with my garage band music, with my guitars and MIDI keyboard, um, I don't, maybe I was listening to music. I'm not quite sure. But anyways, I did manage to get four movies watched. So the first one I saw was Wednesday and Thursday of this week, August 9th and 8th. I usually watch a film all the way through anytime I see it. The same day I watch it all the way through. But in this particular case, um, went because I had to go to bed. Um, I decided to finish it the following day. Um, and it's on it, it's two of the well actually, you know what I yeah, all these movies are streaming websites, and it so happens that two of them are on Shudder, which is a horror um, streaming platform, and the other one is, of course, the one I talk about a lot, Mubi, which shows independent and foreign and cult and avant-garde and classic movies. Um, so, anyways, going back to Shudder, which is a streaming platform for horror movies. Um, they have this marathon, which is one of their series that they have there on their channel, and the marathon is um, with Joe Bob Briggs, who's from Texas. I've seen Joe Bob Briggs do hostings of movies on cable. I don't. I never really had cable. I watched his him hosts uh, movies on YouTube. I saw clips of him, you giving trivia about movies, before and after commercial breaks. Even though I didn't watch the films himself on Showtime, I think it was one channel he was on, and so I only know him in the capacity of through seeing clips of him on YouTube before this. And also, I saw him twice at the Alamo Drafthouse. The first time he was talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Um, the Alamo Drafthouse I went to was in Yonkers, New York, but and I honestly can't remember the other movie that excuse me um, that he did a talk on, and before they showed the movie. I can't remember what that movie was. But anyways, so he has this marathon thing on Shudder, and I think it's like 10, 11, 12, 13 movies, something like that. I've watched 2 so far, which I'm going to tell you about. The first one, the last one of the ones the first one and the last one on my list of films I watched this week are the Joe Bob Briggs one. So the first one is Tourist Trap. It's from 1979. It's directed by a man named David Schmoller. I don't know if he still directs movies. He gave a lot of interesting information about the movie. Uh, uh, excuse me. And it stars Chuck Connors and Tanya Roberts. The director was a student of Buñuel and Jodorowsky in Mexico, and he got the soundtrack for his film. He got the score composer for his film because he was working with somebody or something, and he came upon this. He had to translate to for a friend of his Spanish, and he met this film director. Not film director. He met this film composer, and he managed to get this composer to agree to do his film for him. I think on a reduced rate. And Chuck Connors was an athlete. I believe that's what Joe Bob Briggs said, and he was a baseball player. I can't remember which one is which of the women, but one of them, Joe Bob Briggs says that she runs a acting school, I guess in California. I guess Chuck Connors has been on a lot of things like, I don't know. It was a television show. Was it The Rifleman or no? It wasn't that. I can't remember. If you know, just put the comment down there. Let me know. I can't recall. It was an older show, and I thought, it has these young people getting deserted in the sort of like a desert area. Excuse me, I'm just tired. And they come across this guy that runs a museum, a wax museum, and slowly, you know how horror films go. That slowly things get worse and worser and worser and worser for the characters. Um, so there's lots of mannequins in the film. There's lots of, well, not lots, just different villains appearing, and you begin to figure, well, do you figure it out? Something's not quite right with the guy that's providing them with a place to stay overnight. There's something fishy about him, even though he's a nice guy. And there's a person also that, well, I don't want to spoil anything. There's another person um, that's possibly a danger as well. So I'll leave it at that. But this film I wasn't wild about. I guess it's got a cult following, but I don't find it that fantastic. I find it rather boring. Would I say it's boring? It didn't really scare me. You know, it was just very. It looked like it was thrown together. The sets looked like they were thrown together and dusty. And it just. I'm going to give this film 2.5 stars. So I barely not recommend it. So you know. So let's get to the second film because that's enough of talking about that. The second film I watched was yesterday, Friday. Well, technically it's Sunday right now because it's 2:17 in the morning. And I wanted to watch a few films today. so it has something more to talk about. But anyways, yesterday I watched an Iranian movie from 1990 called The Knights of Zayende Rud, directed by Mohsen Makhmalbaf, who's also the scriptwriter and the editor. And it details the before the Iranian Revolution with the Shah, the Iranian Revolution, and then the aftermath. And it's a pretty depressing movie. It's like 65 minutes. Originally, it was like 100 minutes long, but it was heavily censored in Iran. There are parts of the film where the audio is muted, so which the censors did in Iran, so you don't know what they're saying. But it's a pretty powerful movie, and like it's people in Iran wanting to commit suicide. The main character tries to make a point that it's not really the government that's well. He's saying like Iran has a violent character, Persia has a violent character to it, so he says it's not really a government that can liberate people, but more of a overwhelming sort of love. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but he was a teacher he's a teacher at the start of the movie, and he's saying how things evolve, and like from the old kings in Persia, where Iran is, to the democracy model, to the Shah, and then after that you have Islamic is it called the Islamic Revolution, Iranian Revolution, and you got the Ayatollah Khomeini. This film was superb. They had a lot of people come to this clinic, and they had to go there because they tried to commit suicide, and it's a pretty depressing movie. But so the main character, I'm trying to wrap my mind around what he's trying to say. I'm trying to articulate as best as I possibly can what he's trying to say in the movie, which is like it's not really the government. It's maybe more the society that's made things worse. The way people think, maybe, that has made things worse in Iran for people. Like people being killed in wars, or committing suicide. So I would give this film at least 4 stars. I give it 4.5 stars out of 5. I just don't give it 5 because it's not complete. There's parts that censored out, but the other thing I have to say, about me doing these reviews, showing what I've watched each week. What's the other thing? I just had in my mind, it slipped. Well, the other thing. Oh, yeah. If it's more, if it was completely, if we had the whole 100 minutes, if the audio wasn't censored in certain areas of the film, probably would be a 5-star movie, probably, or at least a 4.5, maybe a 4.5. But I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. It's a really good film. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. So on Mubi, I watch films very close to when they are taken off, because they put a new film on each 30 days, and on the same day they take another one off. So they have 30 days worth of films, like I said before in previous videos here. So, like when I recommend these movies to you, obviously, like some of the ones I talk about, by the time I've talked about them, they're already off the movie website. So I'm sorry if 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 you're wanting to watch these films and you can't find them like on Mubi, because I watched them just before they expired. He also the director of the Iranian movie, the Knights of Zayan Rude. He's also the scriptwriter and the editor. So let's go to Mubi now. Um, I'm on. Yeah, I'm still on movies. I'm sorry for the awkward silences and everything. I'll try to be more succinct next week. Um, Third film I watched was a film called The Rise and Fall of a Small Film Company, but it came out in '86. It's directed by Jean-Luc Godard, with which and he has Jean-Pierre Léaud, who's been in, well, he was in he started off in the 400 Blows um, as the main character, and I found this film to be incredibly, almost boring, pretty boring. I think with Godard, he probably reached his peak with one of my favorite films of all time, which is Weekend, which came out in '67, because before that time period he was being avant-garde and artistic, but he was also being narrative driven and too. And Weekend is a linear narrative to it, but it also is very experimental. And after Weekend, I don't think he really. The films I've seen, mostly on Mubi, except for one I think it's called Film Socialism, where I saw it in the theater in 3D at the Jacob Burns Center as a part of Rarely Seen Cinema by Jonathan Demme. But this film was incredibly boring. I mean, it's just, there's scenes where these actors walk into this room from the hallway. Somebody grabs their arm. They say a line of dialogue, a poetic line of dialogue, like the first buds of spring. I'm paraphrasing here, but like the hollowness of the image, the budding of a flower. It doesn't make. And Jean-Pierre Léaud goes over the top with his acting, and he's yelling, which doesn't seem to make any sense. And he's grasping books out of people's hands and putting books in their hand. Of course, you have that. Is the trope the right word, or trademark? Godard trademark, where they read out of books. That he has that Godardian trademark where he has his actors read passages out of books. So this book, or this movie, also has references to La Ventura and Gold Rush. The La Ventura reference, there's a movie poster on the wall when these actors are walking through this room, and the poster in the back is La Ventura. Also, there's a poster of the Gold Rush in one scene against the wall by Chaplin. The music from The Shining, the scene where Jack Nicholson and Danny Lloyd are talking to each other, and Jack Nicholson is sitting on the edge of the bed, where he says, "I love you, Danny, and I'll love you forever and ever and ever." That scene, that's the music they use in Godard's. I've heard. I saw Inland Empire by David Lynch, and they had a scene in it where they used some of the music from The Shining. Just to give you some trivia there. And Godard makes an appearance in the movie, but it's pretty bad movie. Godard talks about to this guy in a car about the a prolific rate of making movies, and Roman Polanski making one film a year, or one film every once in a while, and this other guy makes 10 films in the same amount of time, and yet he doesn't feel correct or empty or whatever. I don't know, but it was forgettable. I don't like this movie. I give it maybe 2 stars, 2.5. God, what would I give this movie? 2 stars out of 5 stars. So it's it's fair, but it's pretty bad. Yeah, 1 star would be poor. It's pretty close to being bad. It is bad. It's just pretty close to being awful. And the last movie I watched was a film called Sleepaway Camp. I just watched it just a few minutes ago. That's the Joe Bob Briggs thing. His movie marathon on Shudder. Came out in '83. Directed and written by Robert Hiltzik, who is now an attorney, says Joe Bob Briggs. And it stars Felissa Rose, who makes an appearance on Joe Bob Briggs' program. And there's 3 other sleepaway camps that have taken place since the movie came out. I think all in the 2000s they came out. 2006, I think, was Return to Sleepaway Camp, and there's just 2 others. And it became like a cult hit as I learned watching the breaks in between the movies, because Joe Bob Briggs has breaks in between during the movie, in between, to give you some nice tidbits of trivia and information. And there's an appearance by Felissa Rose, and she talks about her role and how she was cast, which is important. So it's important because it's very important to the plot of the movie, how she was cast for the film, the way she looked and all that. As the ending will make apparent to you. I won't say anything about the ending. It's a slasher pick. At the start when I watched it, I thought, it's okay. It's just one of those 80s movies that is cheesy. But as it progressed, I think I liked it better after a while. So I'm going to give this film 3 stars. I think it's good, but not great. It's not like a great classic movie or like a huge epic film, I guess, or artistic triumph, or avant-garde, innovative breakthrough. Okay, so that's all the films I have this week. I'm trying to work on a GarageBand song right now, and I have like 3 Epiphone. Well, I don't have 3 Epiphones. I have an Epiphone guitar. I have 3 tracks doing different things with the Epiphone guitar, and then I have my Fender Squier Bullet Stratocaster doing 2 other guitar tracks. So it's a total of 5 guitars, if you will, even though it's 2 guitars. And I try to use the Fender for like percussion, like playing with the amp and the amps settings on the computer, or not using the amp settings on the computer as well. And like I try to using percussion by hitting the frets or whatever for one of the tracks. So I think I might add a MIDI keyboard. I'm pretty sure I'm going to add a MIDI keyboard, especially to the start. And I might put some drums in. I'm deliberating on that. Sometimes I don't put drums in my songs. I think they give it too much. There's too it doesn't need it. It stands better without it sometimes, or it can start with drums and then end just with a guitar. So that's taking me a while to work on it. And then I've got a ton of other GarageBand songs that I have saved on my iTunes. They're on my external hard drive, on the GarageBand file. But I wanted to show some of my family my music, and but it wasn't finished, so I took it from GarageBand into iTunes, and let it be that way. But I'm gonna probably have to go back on those songs and work on them a little more because I don't think they're polished yet. Maybe some of them are a little bit polished more than others. So, all right, well, I'm gonna go now. Thanks for watching. Check out my GarageBand videos. Check out my short film storyboard, Cost of Love, that maybe one day I'll have the means to make it or the money, but right now it's just something to do and keep myself involved. I'm really keeping my creative juices going these days by playing music, and I'm just experimenting because at this stage I don't know musical theory really at all, if any. I just know a few things like tempo is how fast the song goes. There's the time signature, the beats per minute. Octaves, low octaves and high octaves, and yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna go now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the near future. Thanks a lot. And check out my blog. I'll put it right here. So right now I'll put it. So I'll leave it on for about 20 seconds here, and then you can take a look at that whenever you have the chance. Anyways, I'm signing off, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Thanks a lot for watching. Comments are welcome.